All right, so let's go ahead and finish finding these frequencies. So between 200 and 299, let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 11. And that was the 42nd piece of data, by the way. Now let's see, 303.99. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. And then we have 2. So the first question is, add up all those frequencies and tell me what you get. We get 50. How many pieces of data do we have? That's a sign that we did this right. Now, relative frequency is basically the class frequency over the sample size. So for this, basically, we just divide 8 over 50 for 0.16, 23 over 50 for 0.46. 0.22, 0.12, and then 0.04. The total relative frequency should add to 1 or 100%. You could also give that as a percentage if you so desire. Now, cumulative frequency is where it's going to get a little more fun. We find the sum of the frequencies for that class and all previous classes. So for the cumulative frequency for this first group, it's going to be 8. Now, for the next cumulative frequency, we had 8 before that. We added 23 to that, so we would get 31. Now, let's go back to the chart and see how many pieces of data were below 199 or below. Look, 31. So you can see it that way. So the next cumulative frequency, 31 plus 11, that would be 42. Because you had 31 before and then 11 after. And if we go to the 299 mark, or the next one below 300, what would the next cumulative frequency need to be? 48. And then this last one would have to be 50. Which should be the original total. And cumulative relative frequency is basically just dividing by 50. All of the cumulative frequencies by 50. Because there were 50 pieces of data. That's all. That's why. So we're going to make a histogram of this data using the class bounds and or midpoints. I'm going to do them both. I prefer to use class bounds. And even though the specific instructions are not until later in the calculator, later in this notes, I'm going to show you how this can be done on the graphing calculator. So the highest frequency is what? 23. So so basically the frequency will go on the vertical axis. We can go in fives here. Now, class bounds, I'm going to write those in blue. So negative 0.5 would go here to 99.5, 199.5, 299.5, 399.5, and 499.5. Now, again, I prefer using class bounds, but if you wanted to use the midpoints, you could do that. You know, first midpoint would be 49.5, then 149.5, 249.5, 349.5, and 449.5. So now, the first frequency was how many? 8. So 6, 7, 8, 7, 8, 9. So I'm going to draw that 8 there. Now, what was the frequency for the next set? 23. We're going to go up pretty high here. Now, I am not going to like pull out a magnifying glass and see that this is perfect or anything. You know, I'm not going to like, you know, do that. Yeah, 23. And the next one would be, and there'll be 11, 6, and 2. Now, I am going to show you how to use the graphing calculator. Now, the calculator instructions are, you know, this was what, page 6. The calculator instructions on how to do it are on page 16 and 17. Now, they're using data, they're using different data here. But this, you know, we have to keep in mind two things: our class width and our X-min. So what we'll do here is, first off, I'm going to go to y equals and make sure all these are clear. Now, we're going to go and do the plot now. So we are going to hit second and stat plot. We're going to choose plot 1. We're going to turn it on, and we are going to choose the histogram. Now, X list is L1 and the frequency is 1. Now, what we need to do is we're now going to go to the window menu. So if you hit window, now what was our lowest class boundary? Our smallest class boundary, what was it? was negative 0.5. What was our largest class boundary? $499.5. Now for X scale, what was our class width? It was 100. Now, the Y min should always be 0. What was our maximum frequency? It was 23. Let's make it 25. Now that you've done that, you hit graph. And if you hit trace, you can actually go between all of this. Now, the nice thing is there's a video on Moodle, a video link on Moodle with this exact information. So you actually don't have to really worry about stressing out here at this point. But that's what you're going to get. Now, so it's pretty cool how it all works. Now, a cumulative relative frequency graph, or OGI, it'll display the cumulative relative frequency of each class of a frequency distribution. So that is going to be a line, like a line graph. So the frequency distribution will be the cumulative frequencies. So let's make an ogive of that previous data. Now this time, the frequencies are going to go from 0 to 50. So we'll go in increments of 10. So negative 0.5, 99.5, 199.5, 299.5, 399.5, and then 499.5. So, how many were below negative 0.5? 0. How many were 99.5 or lower? What was the cumulative frequency? 8. Right about here. So then we'll start connecting. Oh. That's the only thing I don't like about this little pen pad. It's kind of hard. So what about the next one? Well, there were 23 altogether. I mean, there were 23 between this, but what was the cumulative? 31. How about the next frequency, cumulative? 42. So the steepest line is obviously this one. And then it was 48. And then 50. Which line was the least steepest? This last part. That's because it had the shortest frequency. And this is basically how we're going to make an ogive. And again, I am not going to be like picky about how it looks. I mean, it's got to look somewhat reasonable, like you made an effort. All right. Now, let me jump back up there. Now, any other questions about all this before we go on to the other method, so to speak? All right. How can we construct a frequency distribution given the number of classes? Here's the thing. I am going to tell you the number of classes. I'm going to tell you that. You will determine the class width, and it will always round up. Trust me. I've had a lot of students that would say, oh, Mr. Jarrett, I still have one more class to go. And I'll say, did you round up? Because even if you got like 12.05 for the class width, you have to make it 13. Otherwise, it will not work. So, the class width, we're going to do this with 8 classes. So, the max was what? It was 440, and the minimum was 53. And we're going to divide that by 8. So I get a class width of 433. Did I do something wrong here? Did I do something wrong with my calculator? You can tell me yes. You can tell me, if you tell me I'm wrong like that, you will not offend me. Don't be afraid to offend me. I'm not hung up on, I have no ego hang up or anything. What did I do wrong? Oh, I should have put parentheses. 440 minus 53, and then we shall divide by 8, 48.375. Now, we have to round that to 49. Always round up. So, now in this case, our class, it's going to start off with the lowest value, 53. Now, we're basically now going to add 49s until we get to the end. So then we have 102, 151, 200. $347 and $396. Now, it's going to happen to one of you, and I'm not going to like jeer you or insult you when it does. But there's a chance you could have done 48. Now, here's the thing. So this goes from 53 to 101. Now we could just keep adding 49s or go one less. 150, 199, 248, 297, 346, 395, and if I add 49 to that, I'm just too lazy to do it in my head right now, 444. If we had only used 48 as our class width, this would have stopped at 436 or 437, I believe. What's the problem with that? If this had stopped at 437. What's the highest value? 440. Where would that 440 go? That's why. So the class boundaries, we would go from 52.5 to 101.5. Now, I'm not going to make you write out all these class boundaries, but basically, 395.5 to 444.5. The distance between boundaries is how much? How far apart are these two? $49. How far apart are these two? Are they 49 apart? No, these are 48 apart. Remember, class width is from one class to the next. That's where it comes from. And you know what? I don't even like class midpoint. I'll talk about it once, but yeah, you know what? Yeah, if you want to do it, do it. I'm not going to. So now we get to figure out the frequencies between these classes here using that same data. So I'm going to give you a moment or two to do that. So for 53 to 101, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 in that first group. Now we are going to have 8 groups here. 102 to 150. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 15. So the cumulative frequency was 8 for that first one, and this one was 23. 151 to 199. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8. Cumulative frequency would be at 31. Oh, that would help if I put it in the right place. And again, if I make a mistake, please tell me. Again, I'm not one of those people that hates to be corrected, because I'm not some like super intelligent cyborg that can't, yeah, I'm human. All right, 200 to 248. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 249 to 297. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. And that takes us to 42. 298 to 346. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. That would take us to 47. 347 to 395. 1. And here's the thing. You could have something with nothing in there. You could have a group with nothing in it. That's okay. Don't freak out about it. And then you would enter the relative frequencies by dividing by 50, 0.16, 0.30, 0.16, 0.10, 0.12, 0.10, 0.02, and 0.04. Then the cumulative relative frequencies, you get those by dividing by 50, or adding the relative frequency beforehand. Either way. All right, not bad at all. So now we get to make our frequency histogram. Now this time we're going to start it at 52.5. So, and the highest frequency was 15. So, now since we're starting at 52.5, I'm going to put kind of a lightning bolt here to indicate that. You know, going from 0 to 52.5. And the class width was, what was the class width again? 49. So basically, we would just add increments of 49. Starting at 52.5. Then adding 49ers. 101.5, 150.5. $199.5, 248.5, 297.5, and I might go off the chart here, 346.5, 395.5, and 444.5. Yeah, I went off the chart, so be it. 346. Now, if you want to do this on the calculator, you would also change your X-min to this and your X-max to this. So 5, 10, and 15. So let's see, between 52.5 and 101, let's see, there were 8. and then 15, and then 8, 5, 6, 5, 1, and 2. So that's how you make a histogram. Now, while you're working on that, little FYI. So what has happened is that first session of Collaborate basically has been recorded. That's one of the reasons I did a 10-minute break. So what'll happen is that'll actually go into where Unit 1 is. And if we open this up, and there's no voice. Daggone it. Well, if the voice didn't work for this one, I promise you I will have it working the next time. Because the voice should be working. Voice and yeah, see, it's reading that. Who knows? Who knows what the problem is? But yeah, I'll have a link to that. All right, so if we go to the calculator, go to Window and change our X-min to 52.5, our X-max to 444.5, and our scale this time to 49. And if we trace, we had 8, 15, 8, 5, 6, 5, 1, 2. Boom. All right, we're going to make an ogive of this data here using the same boundaries. So yeah, 52.5, and the cumulative frequency, the max is 50. So at 52.5, we would have none. At 101.5, 150.5, 199.5, 248.5, 297.5, 346.5, 395.5, and then lastly 444.5. So at 101.5, what was the cumulative frequency? It was 8. What would the next cumulative frequency be? Not 15, that was the actual frequency. Cumulatively, it would be 23. How about the next one? $31. And then $36. How about after that? $42, probably about here. Then 47, I believe. 48, and then 50. So that's how it all works for histograms. All right, so moving along, we got another one. With 50 pieces of data, we're going to go ahead and figure out some of this. So you'll enter that into your calculator and go from there. And the questions at the bottom of page 12, we're just going to skip that. Yeah. Okay, see, it's picking up my voice here. All right, so you'll enter all 50 of those in your calculator, sort them, we'll figure out the class width, and then go it from there. So I'm just going to put this into L2. All right, so I'm going to sort my list in L2. Now, if you put it in L1, that's fine. So my min is 77. My max is 270. Yeah, 270, yeah, minus 77, and we're going to divide that by 8. And we get 24.125. So what would the class width have to be? 25. 25 is going to be our required class width. So we'd start with 77 here. Our first boundary would be 76.5 because it's 1/2 lower. So then we would just keep adding increments of 25 to figure out our class bounds. So this would be 102, 127, 152, 177, 202, 227, 252. 101. And again, when you see an assignment, I'm not going to make you write all these class boundaries. In fact, on the little block there, it should say not necessary to write them all. So yeah, our maximum value was 270. So yeah, that's why we round up. If we didn't round up, our classes would have ended at 268. It's not good. So then 276.5. And now you just figure out all of the frequencies. So 77 to 101. 1, 2, 3. There are 10 of those. Now, the other way, if you feel like being crafty, here's something else you could do. You could actually go to stat plot. This time I'm going to change it to L2. And for the window values, I'd start off at 76.5, and I would end it at 276.5 with a scale of 25. Now, if I were to graph that, see I have 10, 5, and yeah, see, you are allowed to do it this way. 7, 6, 6, 9, 5, and 2. Let's see, that's 15, 22, 28, 34, 43, 48, 50. All right, good stuff. Then you do the cumulative frequencies, and you would go from there. So the relative frequency, we would be dividing each of these by 50. The cumulative frequency, 10, 15, 22, 28, 34, 43, 48, and 50. And cumulative relative frequency. Because here's the thing, I'm going to do this just a little bit differently. And what I mean by that is, how am I going to do this a little bit differently? I'm going to put both the frequency and relative frequency on the same thing. So where did we start that off at? It was 76.5, yes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, a little too much. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think what I'm going to do for next time I have you make one of these plots, I'm going to like put graph paper on or something. Six, 7, 8, 9, 10. Boom. 5. So these are the frequencies. Now, to the left, if I do the relative frequencies, they are basically on the same scale. So you got 76.5 to 101.5, 126.5, 151.5, 176.5, 201.5, 226.5. Oh, I know how to fix this. Condense that just a little. That's the magic of 1 minute. So yes, so yeah, 10, 5. It shouldn't be doing that either, but 7669. Five and 2. All right, so I do want to just tell you a couple things. So yeah, this first lab assignment, there is actually a copy of it on Moodle. There is a histogram question and a weighted mean question. We should actually be able, come Monday. Wait a second. Yeah. This is listed as due August the 27th. Now, I think that might have been that's a Thursday. Okay. Here's the thing. I will accept it virtually, or you can hand it in August 27th. So, do it then. So, that's how it's all going to work here. So, are there any other questions? All right, everyone. That's going to be it. If you borrowed one of my calculators, please put it back. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you back here on Monday.